All right, guys, welcome back. Here we are with ancient Greece. So what you're looking at right now is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is all about ancient Greece during the Peloponnesian War, which we'll get to later. But the main thing for this video we're going to be talking about is the geography. So as you're looking at this video clip, this is going to help you a lot to understand some of the problems that ancient Greece had. So we're in the city-state of Athens, and that's the Parthenon, which again, we'll talk about in great detail later. So the Parthenon is one of the more important structures that was built by Pericles, not by him. He didn't build it himself, meaning he had it built. And again, we'll get to that later. But look around. Does it look like there's anywhere for farmland? You see mountains everywhere. Rocks. Look at the rocks sticking up from the ground. That's a problem. Farmland is called arable land, or land that's good for farming, and the Greeks did not have that. So that was a huge issue for them, and that's something we'll be talking about in great detail. The geography also plays an important role in limiting the size of Greek city-states. Because the mountains are there in the background, as you can see, Athens can only get so big. They're not going to build a city and have it go over the mountain. That doesn't make any sense. But on the flip side of that, there's more Greek city-states. So literally, instead of having giant cities, they have a whole bunch of smaller cities, and these are called city-states. A city-state is literally when it's a self-contained government, military, etc. So for example, Athens has its own military. They have their own type of government. Sparta, on the other hand, they have their own military and their own type of government. It's like a little mini country. And later we'll be talking about Greek columns. As you can see, they're part of the Parthenon. And architecture is important, art, all of these things we're going to get into in great detail later. This is the biggest unit up until this point, and unfortunately Rome right after this one's even bigger. But it's interesting information. This is where we get into a lot of what influences the modern world. So a couple of key things we're going to point out. The Mediterranean basin. A basin holds water like a bathtub or a sink. So when we refer to the Mediterranean basin, we're talking about all the different seas. It consists of the Mediterranean Sea, the Black Sea, the Aegean Sea, and a few others like the Adriatic that we don't really need to know in this class. But if you look inside that area, you can see your shapes. You got your crazy duck and your Nike tennis shoe, but also the white highlighted area. The Aegean Sea is right beside the Greek peninsula. We move on to this next map. Again, there's the Aegean Sea. We've zoomed in a little bit. The areas that you need to know that are the most important is the Aegean Sea. Look at its location compared to the Black Sea. We have the Balkan Peninsula is that entire peninsula, which includes the Peloponnesus Peninsula. Now, the Peloponnesus Peninsula is where Sparta is located. So please look around the map and make sure you familiarize yourself. You see the crazy duck, the Mediterranean Sea. Up at the top right, you see the Black Sea, the Nike tennis shoe. The Aegean Sea connects the Black Sea with the Mediterranean Sea, but there's what's called the Dardanelles. It's a narrow strait that connects the Aegean Sea to the Black Sea, and that comes into play later when we talk about Troy. So Asia Minor, today that's called Turkey, but in this particular time period, Asia Minor is where the Persians were. As we move through this unit, we're going to learn about the Persian War, where the Greeks fight the Persians. So we're going to switch maps up, and these are the specific areas you need to know in terms of cities. So if you look at where Sparta is located, I always call that the claw. It looks like a little hand missing one of the fingers. It's on the middle finger of the claw, the big red area. It says this is Sparta. You have Athens very close to it in the blue, and then the city of Troy all the way up there right beside the Dardanelles. Now, the Trojan War is associated with the city of Troy. It's where the Greeks go and they fight. It's part of mythology, but the city of Troy has been found by archaeologists, so maybe it's not as mythological as what people originally thought. So we're going to be talking about the Trojan War. A guy named Homer, he's famous for poetry. He tells this tale about the Iliad and the Odyssey. The Iliad is the story of the Trojan War, and the Odyssey is Odysseus's trip home. So we're going to take a look at a test question that you might see. This is a release test question that used to be an SOL question. Now, when you take a look, it shows Greece, and it says which location represents Athens. So again, we go back to the map, and you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, remember the claw that I told you about? Who's located right on the middle finger of the claw? That was Sparta. And who is right close by to Sparta? So you're going to see there's the middle finger of the claw. Number 1 was very close to Sparta, which is Athens. So the answer is F. Athens and Sparta are sometimes cooperative and sometimes they fight each other. Now, within the notes and within some of the SOL tests, we have to understand what is Southwest Asia, what is Southeast Europe. So I put this map together showing you the division. So when we talk about the Middle East or where Mesopotamia is located, that's generally referred to as Southwest Asia. Where Greece is, that's Southeast Europe. So again, when you're looking at these maps, look at the Balkan Peninsula or the Greek Peninsula highlighted in white. You see the crazy duck. You see where it's located, right there in the middle of the crazy duck. And then you have the Black Sea up to the northeast of the Mediterranean Sea. You can see basically how Europe and Asia is divided based on the white lines separating them. So when we talk about Greece, the technical name for that is the Balkan Peninsula. And that's the southeasternmost region in the European continent. Peninsula means land surrounded by water on 3 sides. Greece has multiple peninsulas. The mountains also acted as barriers and boundaries, and they prevented large-scale farming. Again, the word arable. They have a lack of arable land. And the Greeks are known for being seafaring people. They have deep bays and natural harbors surrounding the Balkan Peninsula. The Greek islands are dotted through the Aegean Sea. So here's another released SOL test question. This one does not have a graphic, so I'm going to look at my answer choices first. We have language, religion, economy, and geography. So in this unit, we haven't talked about language a lot because they're all speaking Greek. Religion, we talk about it's polytheistic. Economy, it's there, we talk about it some, but geography is the one thing we keep getting back to. I keep talking about geography a lot. So what primary factor encouraged Greek city-states to develop different identities? Remember, the geography is what separates them. The mountains keep them from being smaller cities, and therefore they're different. They're not the same as everyone else. So Greek mythology is pretty cool. Most of you have seen movies like Percy Jackson and the Olympians, maybe Clash of the Titans, etc. So Greek mythology is based on polytheistic religion, meaning there's many gods and goddesses. Now, we're going to talk about some of them in a minute, but why is it important? Because this mythology still influences us today. If you live near Busch Gardens, they have Apollo's chariot. A lot of people name their businesses after Greek mythological people, events, etc. Video games, look at Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I'm going to show you some clips in the next video about how I have to fight some of the mythological people or creatures within Greek mythology. Now, this is the biggest part of the mythology. You have to understand, Greek mythology explains 3 different things. Natural phenomena. These are things that happen in nature, like rain and lightning. People didn't understand the science behind rain and lightning, so therefore, they had gods that were responsible for that. So Zeus is responsible for lightning, which explains something people could not yet comprehend. The next one's human qualities. If a child was extremely smart, the parents would say, oh, Athena likely blessed them with wisdom. Or if you were really good at sports, speed and agility. Today we understand that some genetics involved. They didn't know that. So there was always a god that was responsible for the gifts that they were given physically or mentally, etc. So when you hear Athena is the goddess of wisdom, that's where that comes from. She's the goddess that blesses people with wisdom, or they pray to her so that they can be wise. So the last one is life events, something like birth or death. Those are events that happen. So gods can be responsible for that. The easiest example is Hades. He's the god of the underworld. So the Greeks believe that when you die, you go to this cold, dark place. And Hades is the one who comes to get you when it's your time. So there are many Greek gods and goddesses, but you only need to know a few. The main one is Zeus. He's the leader of the gods, and there's a whole background story about how he became the leader, and that's very interesting, but this is for remediation, so hopefully your teacher shared that with you. But Zeus is the god of the sky. He's the one who creates lightning. Hera's his wife. She's the protector of marriage. Apollo is the god of light. Some people say the sun, but it's more light, music, and poetry are the three things he's responsible for. Artemis is the goddess of the hunt. Athena is the goddess of wisdom, and Aphrodite is the goddess of love. So you don't need to memorize them, but you do need to be able to identify them. In next unit, when we get to ancient Rome, one of the most common types of ways that they'll test you in the SOL is they'll show you a list of Greek goddesses and gods or Roman goddesses and gods, and they'll ask you to identify, are these Greek, are these Roman, or which kept the same name, which is Apollo, but we'll learn about that next unit as well. The last part of this is even today in Western literature, art, and architecture, we see Greek mythology all the time. Again, Busch Gardens, Apollo's chariot, movies, video games, etc. Okay, here's a sample SOL released question, and this gets into what I was talking about. Achilles' heel, Odyssey, Titanic, Trojan horse. So Achilles, again, as I mentioned, he's one of the main characters of Homer's Iliad. And we have an Achilles heel, that's a weakness. And the Trojan horse is associated with Troy. So which statement describes the origin of these terms? So are they from Roman history? No. Babylonian legends? We didn't even talk about Babylonian legends. They are taken from Greek mythology? Yes. And then last, they are actions of Egyptian gods? No. So again, the hope is that you'll remember and associate Achilles or Trojan horse with Homer's Iliad and know that that's Greek. So switching gears here, this is modern day Athens. So I'm playing Flight Simulator, I'm flying over the actual city. So this is created with Google Maps and it's a very accurate rendition. So when you were looking earlier at Assassin's Creed, the one thing that's not quite as accurate is it's smaller because it's a video game and they don't want it to take weeks to walk across a certain area. So if you're looking, you still see there's not any farmland. There's mountains in the background. It's just bigger than what you saw in the video game. Now, as the plane's turning here, you're going to see what's called the Acropolis. Now, that's what I showed you in the Assassin's Creed video. That's where the Parthenon is sitting up on top of it. Now, this is pretty cool because today, the Parthenon is in ruins. And it's preserved. Think about that. It's thousands of years old, but it's still there. The Acropolis, a raised elevated position, would have been one of the earliest locations in Athens that people would have settled. So it would be important because protection, elevated, the high ground. It's very important in terms of military purposes. So even today, this is a historical site and you can see it below, and I'll get a little closer in just a second. So I switched to the drone camera and you can see literally there's the ruins of an amphitheater right beside the Acropolis, and you could see that in the Assassin's Creed video as well. And you can see how the roof is gone, there's no color. And archaeologists were able to determine that the Parthenon had color. There are traces of the paint, etc. Many of the statues that we see today that are all white originally did have paint on them or color, but over thousands of years it's disappeared. So this is what the Acropolis looks like today. And that's the Parthenon, and that's something that's going to be coming up important in terms of the contributions of ancient Greece.